Hello?
Hi.
Are you coming to the happy hour? I need to vent.
I'm still at the office.
Oh my god, are you trying to be CEO or something?
Yeah.
You'll get there, but I'll see you at happy hour.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to You'll Get There. Today's happy hour is with the besties behind the internet's favorite pickle brand, with Leia and Yazaman, the founders of Good Girl Snacks. You might know their viral Hot Girl Pickles. From going viral to landing their pickles in Air One, Forbes 30 Under 30, and exciting brand collabs, they've been taking over the snack world one TikTok at a time.
We're getting into the wild ride of building a brand from the ground up and the lore of how they got started. Plus, maybe a sneak peek into what's next for this bestie duo. If you've ever dreamed of starting your own thing but don't know where to start, this is for you. Here's their advice on how you'll get there.
So I guess we can just kind of start from the top. What did you guys even focus on first whenever you were starting your brand? And from the moment that you looked at each other and you were like, we're gonna do this, what was next?
I think figuring out a name and figuring out what the brand and what the world we were going to build was going to look like was step number one. Obviously, the actual step number one was no, we came up with that first, and then we created the LLC. But yeah, we were like, what are we going to name this brand? Is it going to be Hot Girl Pickles? Do we want to make it broader so that if we expand into other snacks, we have room to do that? And we landed on the brand name Good Girl Snacks and then Hot Girl Pickles for just our product. Yeah, we decided, we wanted to leave ourselves some room to grow into other categories, but beyond pickles. And, we were also deciding what the brand was going to look like, what the colors we were going to use would look like, our logos. We knew we wanted fun doodles. We knew we wanted the brand to look really fresh and young and fun and a little nostalgic and like something you've never seen before, but also familiar and comforting and friendly. So those were all things that we were thinking about very early on. And then obviously the flavors and what the products would be.
Yeah.
Simone and I, the idea of starting Hot Girl Pickles really was rooted in TikTok and seeing a trend on TikTok. So the name of the brand is very much so based off of that trend, which was hot girls have stomach problems, hot girl walks, girl dinners. And there was just this whole lore around the habits that girls have, and that created a whole community online. And we started noticing between the fact that we had a super heavy foodie algorithm and For You page, and the fact that we had a Gen Z For You page, we were seeing all these hot girl videos, and then we were seeing every other video was a pickle video. There was a chamoy pickle kit that went viral, the chickle trend, there was a pickle sweatshirt that went viral. And so we kind of took all of that and we were like, what if we just start Hot Girl Pickles and just quit our very stable jobs to do this crazy idea? And obviously that came with a lot of research and talking to a lot of people in the industry to actually decide that, this was a smart idea and that the aisle was really sleepy. It wasn't another prebiotic soda or another popcorn. It was actually something that no one was touching, with a ton of social proof and a really big market behind it. And like Yas mentioned, no flavor innovation, no one was organic. And we created a brand and a world around Hot Girl Pickles that really was tailored to Gen Z women. And so whenever we were thinking about this branding and all this marketing that Yasemin is mentioning, that was really at the forefront of it all. How do we speak to this demographic and how do we create an ecosystem for these girls that are obsessed with pickles? Start niche and then go wide. Obviously, girls run the world. So if a hot girl tells you something is good, everyone else is going to follow. That's kind of the idea here.
I love that. Just in response to that, what would you say is the most important thing to building a brand today? Because I think Good Girl Snacks is a great example of you really tied into things happening in culture. And it seems like starting a brand in today's stage is a lot different than starting a brand even 5 to 10 years ago. So what advice do you have to people who do want to start a brand today? And what are some trends and things to look for?
I think think about how you can make it very authentic to you, but then also think about who you're going to be selling for and what's missing, what could improve someone's life, even if, it's not necessarily a physical improvement. It's just making someone happy by opening their fridge and having something really fun inside to look at. So that's kind of how we looked at it. And then specifically, we were looking at which aisles of the supermarket were sleepy. And I mean, we knew we wanted to do pickles, but then, beyond pickles, if we were to launch another product, that's something that that's an approach that we would take, and looking at what's missing, because it's so much easier for you to stand out if you don't have a ton of competition, and you can just have so much fun with it because you don't have to worry about what your competitors are doing.
Also, you have to think backwards. Like, social media is the number one place where you're going to market your product and really make it. And without social media marketing, you can't really get anywhere these days. So if you're not social listening, so doom scrolling every day, and you don't really understand the trends or what people are talking about, even in comments on very popular social media posts, you're probably missing out on a lot of trends. And so just making sure that you're online and that you're open to putting yourself out there and marketing using social media platforms, because at the end of the day, that's free and it's the easiest way to get in front of as many eyeballs as possible and to sell as quickly as possible, especially with tools like TikTok Shop now and like affiliate programs through that. So yeah, you have to be on social media if you want to start a company, in my opinion. And not only posting on it, but just observing almost.
Yeah, social media has to be basically a part of your brand today. And it used to be a conversation of, should we be on social media or should we not? Or should we be on this platform? But now it seems like social media is really table stakes for every brand if you want to stay up to date and be competitive. So I totally agree with that.
Totally. And I mean, y'all have like a very, I wouldn't say specific social strategy, but it feels like it is, because I feel like you guys know exactly what you're doing, but obviously probably in the beginning you didn't know what that looked like. Like, do you guys have any examples of kind of like how your social strategy evolved, and like, were you doing the trends, or like, do you stay away from the trends? What is your move?
Yeah, so first of all, everything we've ever done has always been extremely intentional. Even the way that we think about different platforms and different tools on those platforms are different. So the Instagram feed and static images are how we build our brand and our aesthetic. And that is never, like, we never post reels on our actual feed unless it's a recipe, because we want to keep that aesthetic. And then short form content, so on reels or on TikTok, is how we build growth and a following and let people into the journey and have people watch how we build in public, essentially. And then stories are for community engagement, same with like email, SMS, and like the Instagram community channel. So that's kind of how we think about content. But everything we post short form has changed very drastically to when we've first started. So we first started thinking that we should just do trends because that's what everyone on TikTok was doing. Thank God we didn't start this when people were doing TikTok dances, because like I would have probably been like, let's do a TikTok dance.
Literally.
No, but then we realized, like, okay, if we do a trend, we're not really encouraging people to follow us because we're not adding anything meaningful to the conversation. And so we kind of had to rewire the way that we were thinking of content to be like, let's create almost like a TV show where people are tuning in every single day and they follow because they want to join the journey. Or let's create a tagline or hook that's so provocative or makes people want to comment so badly that either they engage with the post and we get a ton of views on the post, or they end up following us because they're like, wait a second, you quit your stable job to start a pickle company with your best friend. Like that was our main hook that really started working after we tested a bunch of different hooks for this like vlog series we did. But yeah, it's just trial and error too. Like one series could work really well for somebody and maybe doesn't work so well for somebody else. And you just have to kind of see what other people are doing and make it your own. So like obviously Days in the Life were doing really well at that time, but everyone was posting the same, like putting ice in their cup with like the coffee machine and going to Pilates, whatever. And we're, starting a pickle company. So it was very different to what was on social media at the time.
So I know y'all were recently at the CPG Expo. I was wondering a little bit about, so to our listeners, they're probably not familiar about what that even is and what the CPG definition is. Would you mind explaining that about the general space of consumer packaged goods and kind of what you're seeing in trends? Because it is a very competitive space. So just kind of what you're seeing from other brands. And I know you're doing some collaborations, just anything that kind of speaks to that question.
I feel like the past 2 years, there's definitely been a rise in anything in like the health industry, like even foods and food and beverage brands, everyone's tapping into the protein trend, into like having good macros, like protein bars are trending. And yeah, I think that's definitely the direction we're moving in. I don't know if it's a bubble and, soon enough people will be like, wait, like putting protein in literally every snack is kind of ridiculous. But that's definitely the trend that we've been seeing. And then when we went to Expo West, we actually really did notice a huge trend in like the pickle flavor. So that was really great to see because it made us happy that, we hopped on the trend before it became that big of a trend. And yeah, it was so fun to see like popcorn brands have like a dill pickle flavor, and like so many brands have like a dill pickle flavor now, which is really cool. And we love that. And we were sampling everything. But yeah, I would definitely say that there's been a rise on like the health side of things. And I think consumers now are so much more educated. Like even if you think about the type of content we consume on social media, like people follow Huberman and all those great podcasts that really teach you so much about the human body and how to nourish it and nutrients and supplements and all of that. And so people are like Armor Colostrum is such a trending product and such a popular product. And, we all live in LA and New York, and we're kind of all in the hub of where those products and those trends are starting. So it's super interesting to see how things are moving in this direction. And we personally, Leia and I, are also very tapped into the health industry and health and wellness overall. And so it's going to be interesting to see how we incorporate that in our business. And it's something that we have always been very aware of. And even when creating our products, we wanted to make sure they were free of harmful ingredients and chemical preservatives and dyes. And we wanted to be organic. And, with every new product that we launch, that's always going to be at the forefront, is making sure we have a clean ingredient label, which can mean different things in different categories. But for us, it's really about creating whatever better for you version of an existing product exists. Yeah.
And CPG, just to backtrack, is consumer packaged goods. That's the definition of it. And that can exist in beauty. Like makeup is a consumer packaged good, but so is our brand, which is why most people say CPG F&B, which is food and beverage. So if that's what we keep saying, that's what we're referencing to.
Yeah, thank you. I've actually never heard that before, the CPG FB. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. So, just a question about your journey. Have there been any unexpected moments that made you really pivot your strategy or just try something completely new and unexpected?
We always talk about Cucumber Gate on our socials, which really taps into our social media strategy too, with just being super authentic and building in public. It just comes along with being really honest about the horrible things that happen when you start a business, specifically a business that involves fresh produce, which for us is organic cucumbers. So we've had a few issues with our cucumbers getting put in the wrong trucks and freezing, or storms taking out crops, and us having to basically delay our productions a million times, even though we had thousands and thousands of people online waiting for our product to basically come back in stock or even launch when we were in the early days. And we kind of decided to listen to what our community was doing at a certain point. So we launched our product February 2024 with these cucumbers that went through Cucumber Gate. They were frozen. There was like a huge issue with them, whatever. And we launched the product online, and people were like, it's not as crunchy as we thought. Like there's like weird holes in it, things that you learn the first time you launch a product. So we decided to make things even harder for ourselves and enter Cucumber Gate even more full throttle. And basically reformulate our product to have smaller cucumbers, which now we've kind of figured out these issues and it's like not an issue anymore. But at the beginning, it was like, why did we do this? But we had to pivot as we listened to our customer feedback, even though those cucumbers were more difficult for us to find at the end of the day. It does make our product a lot better. People are a lot happier. And like, it's just a better like eating / snacking experience to have those smaller cucumbers, and they're a lot crunchier. And more fit in a jar, so you get more bang for your buck. And yeah, that was like one of the biggest pivots we ever made. And we're just now, like a year later, have figured out our supply for that, basically.
Yeah. And that's our whole thing, I think. And the advice that I would give to any person starting a business or running a business is that you have to be okay with switching things around, and things aren't always going to go to plan. And so it's about being adaptable and being able to pivot and change directions and just make the most out of whatever situation you're in. And even now, like we'll speak to a retailer, which is something we've been doing. We're pushing a retail strategy pretty heavily for 2025. And, some retailers are like, I love this product and I want to carry it, but I actually would want it to be in this type of packaging instead. And so it's about figuring out those kinks and sometimes just saying yes to things and then just figuring it out on the back end.
That totally makes sense. And I know you guys recently launched an Air One, which is amazing, and you've sold out like a few times, it seems like. And you mentioned that you have like a heavy retail plan coming up. Are you guys focusing more on like the retail space or more like DTC focused? I guess like for the listeners, I guess they don't really understand like the difference between the two. If you could touch on that.
Yeah. So we started off selling D2C, which is basically through our online website. And that was great for us. It allowed us to get proof of concept. We were able to ship nationwide and we got, everyone in America and all states to try our pickles, which was great. And we got so much feedback from that. But buying any type of food product online really goes against consumer behavior. And while it was great at the beginning, we think long-term retail is really the name of the game. People will buy pickles whenever they go do their groceries. And so, it's kind of makes things more complicated if you have to get your groceries in person and then buy this product online and pay shipping for it just so you have it like during the week. So we're kind of shifting gears. D2C is always going to be a thing. It's always going to be a channel we offer, and you're always going to be able to buy our product on our website. We're going to be putting most of our efforts and most of our marketing efforts, especially into pushing for retail sales. So pushing people to go in a store and buy our product in person.
Yeah, that's so exciting. And like, I mean, we can touch on y'all's packaging because Maddie and I both love the packaging. It's so cute. And I know like the doodles are everywhere throughout your whole branding. Like, is there a backstory behind the doodles?
Yeah. So, our girl doodle, which has like a huge ponytail and she's really tall and wears giant boots. Her name's Gigi, which is good girl. So she represents the whole brand and she kind of looks a little bit like us and we're both Middle Eastern. So she has certain aspects to her look that do tap into that. And she'll be on all of our products moving forward because she is Good Girl Snacks. And then you have Pick, P-I-K, which we later found out means something else, which in Dutch, which is funny because I feel like it's kind of on brand that it means that, but you guys can look it up if you're interested. But he represents Hot Girl Pickles and our pickle product in general. He's kind of like a blob with boots and doesn't really look like a pickle because we don't really look like any other pickle brand. And so that was kind of the idea with him. Also, we're organic and we have a ton of different shapes and sizes in our jars. And so we thought that having him look a bit organic shaped could maybe tap into that. And yeah, we love them so much. I think they really help create this like big world and ecosystem. Whenever we do come out with new snacks, there will be new doodles. And we have so many other new flavors coming out that also will involve like new poses. So we try to emulate new poses or like doodles or little aspects when we have new flavors. So we're coming out with like a garlic flavor. It's garlic and something else, sneak peek. And there's like a little garlic doodle and it's a very earthy flavor. So we created new poses for Gigi and Pick where they're kind of like is like holding a flower and so we just kind of wanted to create this whole ecosystem. And it's also very similar to how when you were a kid you had like your favorite mascot on a cereal box and it taps into that nostalgic aspect we also try to tap into. So it feels very familiar and approachable. Even when we do demos in store, which is just when you sample stuff in a store and we see kids interacting with our product, like obviously it's called Hot Girl Pickles, right? But like kids are even drawn to it because it's like blue and pink and there's doodles.
Yeah.
So we're not just attracting or speaking to a woman or a Gen Z woman, but we're also attracting a bunch of different audiences through having doodles and this specific type of branding.
Yeah. I feel like I've noticed a huge trend with these challenger CPG brands like leaning into colorful packaging. Do you think that that is really important in today's space and is something if you were to give advice to someone launching a brand, like colorful is the way to go just to help better stand out on the shelves? Or do you think that it just depends on your audience?
I don't think it depends on your audience or like, whatever. I think it more so depends on what shelf you're on. Because if you're on a shelf where everyone else is really colorful, then I would say you shouldn't be because you want to stand out amongst everyone else. So, for example, in beverage, like if I were to create a beverage company today, I would want my can to look more toned down and dialed down compared to, the rainbows of Poppy and Olipop and all those brands. So yeah, I think it really depends on the category and who your competitors are. For us, colorful made sense because all our competitors' packaging looked really homogenous and everything was green and gray and black and some blue, like depending on what store you're shopping at. So it really was about just standing out against other brands.
So, in today's landscape, how do you think or how do you feel that partnerships and brand collaborations like have really played a role into launching and growing your brand and just any brand in general?
So we do a ton of collabs on social media, whether that's recipe collabs or giveaways or just doing like weird videos with other brands. Most of the time we do collabs very strategically. So we'll make sure that the other company we're working with either has more followers than us or they have followers that are different than ours, because obviously we want to attract new followers and growth with everything that we do, which just taps into like our intentional social media strategy we were talking about earlier. But yeah, it's been super helpful for us to get in front of new eyeballs to do this, especially as a new and young company. And for the more established companies we work with or just companies that have other audiences, it's really helpful for them because we have a super female Gen Z forward audience, which is what most companies need. And it's the hardest audience to get to follow you. So it's a win-win situation. Also, it's just so fun to work with companies that we consume on a day-to-day basis. We're doing a crazy collab with Cheez-Its, which we're so excited about because we've been Cheez-Its fan forever. We did a collab with Sweetgreen recently. We just launched a pre-workout with Amino Lean, which was so fun because we remember when Alex Earl was still just starting out and she did her pre-workout like soda with them, and that blew up. So I don't know, we just feel so grateful that we are even able to have these conversations with these brands, but on a social media strategy side, it's also just really helpful for growth purposes.
And how do you start these conversations with the brands? Do they usually reach out to you or are you finding someone on their team?
They usually reach out to us, luckily enough. I think it is because we post every single day, so we probably do end up on these people's For You pages or Explore pages often. But if there's someone very specific we want to work with, we'll DM them.
That's awesome. I thought that the Amino Lean thing was so it was so great because it was so unexpected. Like, honestly, it was the last thing I would think that you guys would post. But, like, it had huge success, which props to you guys. That's awesome. But I love that you guys, like you said earlier, like, the health and wellness area, that's, like, such a smart way to, like, tap into that without, like, actually making, like, a protein pickle or, like, something like that.
And the way that we think of social media is really how do we get people to react? Even just with marketing in general, how do we get people to react or comment? And so how do we do all these unexpected things to make people engage with the content we're posting? So whether it is this pre-workout or whether it's, a chocolate covered pickle, which we did for Valentine's Day, or a photo of a pickle in a condom where other food and beverage brands are posting super appetizing photos and videos of their food products. Like, we want to be so provocative and crazy that people want to engage in a conversation and in the brand that we're building, even if they don't like pickles,
Totally.
So that's been really fun to do. And I think we'll just continue being really weird and unexpected.
I love it. So, how did you actually go about finding a manufacturer for your pickles and what did that process look like? I think I actually recall some of the first videos I came across were you actually posting BTS with your manufacturer. So, I'd love to hear about that process.
Yeah, we worked with really amazing consultants from the beginning. They're a duo of two women. One of them is our food scientist, and she developed our recipes, and she also has a lot of experience with like a previous like COO job. And then her partner is a consultant on the operations side also, and they basically together matched us with a co-packer, but it was a lot of trial and error. It was a lot of like speaking to different facilities. And in the beginning, it's hard because you have like you're trying to manufacture a smaller quantity, right? Because you don't know if the product's going to work. So you're trying to be safe. But a lot of facilities have pretty high MOQs. And so because of that, we, ended up finding a facility that was just right and was able to manufacture an amount for us that was perfect for where we were at the beginning. And they also organic, so they had all the certifications we needed, and it just made things really easy and smooth for our first production. And we since have changed facilities. We're now at a larger facility where we can grow and really scale there. So, but it's definitely kind of like dating, and that goes for, any business partnership, whether it's hiring or, working with a new facility or fulfillment center or whatever it may be. It's really like having conversations with so many people and then finding the one person where you feel like there's trust and you feel like you can grow there and feeling like you're excited about working with them.
That makes total sense. Were they like more local manufacturer, or like, I guess, did you want to choose like a local one so you could like go check it out? Or
Yeah, that would have been so ideal.
I'm sure it's so hard. Like, I can
It's so
imagine.
hard. It's so hard. And we were really, really pushing to find one local to California. Unfortunately, that did not happen. But our first facility was in Massachusetts. They were in Greenfield, so they were about like 2 hours away from Boston. Definitely so fun going
Guys,
there in the dead of winter.
I literally had to drive through a snowstorm for us to go to
In the middle of the night.
Oh
in
my
the middle of the
God.
night.
Yeah.
And I'd never driven in snow like that in my life. And we had one of our consultants in the back, and I swear to God, I almost killed her. Like, lost control of the car, couldn't see anything. There was no lights because Greenfield is in the middle of like the
Nowhere.
forest. And then
Yeah, it was really bad.
we were like, oh, let's stay at an Airbnb like near the facility and like be like super like Paige Lorenz cottage core
Yeah.
vibes. And the house literally had people living in it, and we didn't know. And so
No, we
we
thought it
would-
was haunted.
Yeah.
We fully thought it was haunted.
so we came back from our production, and this is like in a tiny town, like there's nobody, okay? We come back from our production, we're like exhausted, we go to sleep, and we're hearing all these footsteps. And I'm like, okay, there's literally somebody in here, okay? Like, and our consultant is there. And she's like a couple years older than us, so we were like, Mom, there's somebody in here. And she grabbed chairs and put them against doors. Like, it was like a whole lore. That trip was insane. Like, almost died. It was in a haunted house. And then like we ran out of ingredients
Oh my God.
during our production. So we had to go to Whole Foods and find the same ingredients that we were using. Like, basically certain companies private label stuff. And so Whole Foods has the same company's ingredients that we were using. So we had to like buy like 30 jugs of vinegar at Whole Foods and carry them back to like, it was a disaster, but we made it work.
Wow, that is a
And-
true founder story. All for the
Oh, yeah.
pickles.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we like the first time that we went to Massachusetts or maybe the second time that we went, when Cucumber Gate happened for the first time, and we found out that like 3,000 pounds of cucumbers were frozen because they were put in the wrong truck. We still did end up having to fly 6 hours across the country and pay for our flights and our hotel. Yaz and I literally became bodybuilders and carried what, like 100 boxes of vinegar and drove a U-Haul for 3 hours. Never driven a truck. We don't know how we carried half these boxes and loaded them out. There was one guy that helped us unload them, thank God. Otherwise, we would have probably, like, we're not like strong girls, you know? We're
Yeah.
like, you know,
No,
like
I
we
would've
just
died.
started a pickle company. That day we became like sumo wrestlers. I don't know what happened. But yeah, the hustle is so real, and we really did it all from scratch, like since the beginning. So
Oh my gosh,
these
that's
are stories we
amazing.
live to tell.
Yeah.
I love that. They're good memories too. And
Yeah.
also, it's fun that you have each other as best friends. That probably
Yeah.
makes it a lot more fun.
Yeah,
Oh
it
my
comes
God,
with
yeah.
a lot of laughs.
Could not have done that alone. I would have cried.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's definitely
Yeah.
we were driving Paul with like all those boxes of vinegar and in the freezing cold, and we looked at each other and we were like, what are we doing?
Honestly,
I go, what are we doing?
the visual of Leia driving this massive U-Haul is like ingrained in my brain. Leia is like 5'3" for context.
Yeah.
So it was really funny.
Yeah, it was funny. It was funny.
Did you have any social media content from that experience?
Of course. Oh my God.
You have to.
We milked that like no other. I mean, we always say like any bad experience that happens to us ends up just getting us better content and more views. So it's not something we take as a negative.
Yeah.
And we've
Love
always
that.
made an opportunity out of every bad thing that's happened to us. But yeah, if you scroll back on our socials, there's some really funny videos and content. Like there's a video of us in pajamas, so distraught, exhausted from travel days, like literally on the border of tears, crying about how someone froze 3,000 pounds of our cucumbers. So
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
not a sentence we ever thought we'd be saying, but
Yeah.
That's so
Literally.
funny.
And I mean, like, it teaches you that you have to, like, really not freak out and, like, quickly decide, like, what
Yeah.
you're gonna do next.
Yeah, totally.
yeah. It's definitely a humbling experience being a first-time founder, I will say.
It's all gonna pay off. It already is paying off.
Yeah, let's hopefully. We're definitely trending in that direction.
Yeah. I remember when we first started talking that you shared with Izzy and I a big part of your strategy is doing talks at colleges and sharing your experience, encouraging young women to have more confidence in starting a business. Why is that mission important to you, and what advice do you have to young women?
I think it's important to us because at the beginning, those are the people we were looking for to help us out. And we were very fortunate to have been surrounded by a lot of amazing people, whether they were men or women, who like really, taught us so much about the industry, were great mentors and allowed us to avoid making very bad mistakes in the industry. So we were so thankful for that experience that we were like, you know what, we should give this back somehow. We're still learning so much, but in any way we can. It's always so great to connect with the other people that are starting in the space. And it's just a very fulfilling aspect of what we do. And even on social media, a lot of people will comment or DM us telling us that we inspired them to start a business and to take the leap and do something on their own. And that's so great to us. And yeah.
We also like every part of this company, especially in the social media marketing side of things, has been about sharing our experience and being super authentic about it. And that is to help people, especially younger women, build the confidence to do it themselves, just to show them like, hey, it's not that intimidating. Like, we're just two girls doing this too. And if you don't know where to start, like maybe you can start by watching our videos or like reach out to us and we'll chat with you. There's not a ton of people that have built in public, specifically in the food and beverage industry. And so if people have questions about that or are interested in learning more about the industry, it's really only us and a couple other brands that are Gen Z. And then Gen Z women is even smaller than that. So we definitely want to be like leaders in that space and encourage more young women to get involved in CPG as a whole, but food and beverage even more so.
I love that.
Yeah, I think that's so great. And like not only does it like help them, but it also like builds a amazing community for you guys. Like to build these like ride or die fans that are like so obsessed with your brand because they feel like they can trust you. It's so important for like any brand, I feel like, coming into wherever they are today. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and they feel like they're building the product with us, because
Totally.
They're
a lot
along
of
for the
these
ride.
people, yeah, a lot of these people have been following us from the beginning and they're like, I remember when you just like were launching hats, because we launched hats before we even launched the product, but and they're like, and now you're entering XYZ retailers, like that's so crazy. And whenever we get these messages, I'm like, wow, I can't believe we started this only a year ago and people, remember what we were doing a year and a
Yeah.
half ago, 2 years ago. It's pretty crazy.
I actually have a question again about the retail side of things. What is that process like? Like, do they give you a certain amount of time? Like, you can have your product out for 2 months. We'll see how it goes, and then we'll decide whether or not we want to buy more. Like, what is that process like?
So most big brand, I mean, it depends what kind of store you're talking to, but I'll just speak on, the larger chains. Most stores will buy from a distributor. So you're actually selling your product to a distributor, and then that distributor will then sell it to those brands. But the way it works is that every year there's category resets for different categories of the supermarket. And there's category managers, and so people that oversee which brands get to enter a store for that year. And so there's a calendar usually where, most of these dates are laid out, and it's really about sending those buyers your product and, kind of tracking when those yearly reviews are and getting ahead of the game and, having them try your product whenever the opportunity arises. And then hopefully they like it and they want to purchase the product from you. And yeah, and then, they'll place a PO and they'll just order some inventory from you, from the distributor, and they just see how it goes. And I feel like unless you're doing tragically bad, you're usually, they're going to keep ordering from you, and it's like their own decisions, at their own discretion, if they want to keep the relationship going and continue to buy products from you, depending on how well you're performing at the store.
That's why it's really hard to get into grocery stores, because you have to have, you basically have to prove that, one, your product is better than what's already on the shelf, and two, that you can bring people through their doors. And so if you can't prove that by sending them samples or through your founder story, which is part of the application process, they probably won't approve you, because most of the time they don't like bringing something on the shelf and then taking it away.
Wow.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah.
Did you guys, I guess, because I work in fashion, so I understand this through fashion lens with our wholesalers, but for at Expo West, did you meet a lot of new buyers per se, for potential retailers, or was it more just for general awareness?
So we were walking the show. We didn't exhibit our brand, so we didn't meet a lot of buyers. We thankfully have made good connections with a lot of the buyers we wanted to speak to already, which is great.
Awesome.
So we really just wanted to walk the show to, one, support our friends in the industry who were exhibiting, to see what's new. And then a lot of people actually were flying in to California to go to the show. And so it was a lot about networking and, putting a face to a lot of the names that we've been chatting to via email. So, we met investors and other people in the CPG space that are doing really cool things, and potential partners and those kinds of connections. And then we also met a lot of other founders, which is something that Leia and I are always so excited about, and we love to connect with other founders in the space, even if it's not necessarily in food and beverage, and we love to see what other people are doing. And it's definitely a rough industry, so whenever you can make some friends and lean on each other, it's always great to do so.
And also, weirdly, because our category is very sleepy, so our category is pickle, peppers, and olives, not a lot of the buyers for our category actually even go to these shows, because there's no one that has new products on that aisle that are exhibiting at these expos. So, that's not great for us, but proves out that, we are awakening these very dusty, sleepy aisles anyway. So
That's awesome. So exciting.
Yeah, that is really awesome. And when you first started, how did you really start to divide and conquer roles as founders? What was the balance like, and how did you lean into each other's strengths?
So Leia previously had a marketing position at her job. And so when we started the business, it was pretty clear that she was going to spearhead marketing for us and social media and that whole strategy. And then for me, I'm actually an art history major. So I was like, okay, this doesn't really apply here. But I also had a double minor in marketing and finance. And so I think that finance minor and the fact that I think more naturally, I don't want to say good with numbers, because that makes it sound like I'm a mathematician.
You
I'm
are.
not. Okay, objectively, I don't know. But
For pickles, you are.
No,
I guess
she's crushing it.
when it comes to our own brand, I guess I am. But so yeah, I decided to take that on, and I run operations, sales, and anything that's more finance related. And Leia does social media, marketing, PR, brand alignment, events, anything that's related to those things. And then we meet in the middle for anything creative and product development, and for other big important decisions. It's not like we just do our thing and we don't really check in on each other. There's a lot of things that we do together, and that especially for the bigger decisions. So, but that's kind of how we decided to split up our roles.
That's great. I mean, it's probably it sounds like it was pretty easy for you guys, but I imagine that a lot of founders find it hard to like not kind of overstep each other and like be like, oh no, I want to do that. I want to do that. So
Yeah. Well, I think for me, like as much as I love marketing and I love like the branding aspect of it, there's so many aspects of marketing that I really love, but social media is like not what I'm good at. And I knew that Leia was so much better at it than me, and she understands social media in a lot of ways that I don't. And so I think it's really about having a no ego relationship. And that's something we always talk about. A lot of people say you should never work with your best friend. But for us, it's been the biggest blessing of all. And it's made our friendship so much stronger. But then also our work relationship is so great because we both know what we're good at. We're both pretty self-aware. And we're also, yeah, we have so much trust in each other. And, you know, like I know that she's going to kill it at what she's doing. She has trust in what I'm doing. And so yeah, we're able to just have like a no ego relationship where we're not really trying to step on each other's toes. We're in it together and we just have the same goals and we both want to win.
that's
Love that.
awesome.
I was gonna ask, did you ever have a moment where you kind of just were like, we can't do this anymore? Like, I want to go back to a job, and then you just realize, okay, no, that's not true. I can't do that. Like, any moment where you really just lost confidence for a sec, but got back on your feet?
I don't think that we ever allowed ourselves to think that failure was an option. Like, anytime something really insane has happened or really unfortunate, it's usually one of us spiraling and the other one keeping the other in check, if that makes sense. So, like,
Yeah.
if I'm spiraling and I'm like, okay, like for example, there was a couple weeks where our TikTok was completely shadow banned and it was like 5 days before we were gonna launch, and I was like, there's no way this is happening right now.
Yeah.
And I was spiraling. I was so annoyed, whatever. And then Yas was like, dude, like, we also have Instagram. It's not that big of a deal. Like it's fine. And then Yas would like freak out at other things related to like ops and, you know, cucumbers. And I would be like, no, it's fine. We're going to figure it out. So I think it's more, I mean, again, this taps into like having two. I feel like if it was just me, it would have been a lot easier to quit or to be like, this is way too hard. But
Yeah.
because we are two, it's easy to balance each other out. And one of us is always going to uplift the other. Thank God we haven't spiraled at the same time yet. Hopefully that never happens.
I feel like even if we do, one of us just naturally pulls it
Picks up
together.
the slack.
I love that.
Yeah. Like I'm like, I have to keep it together right now, even though I'm also spiraling.
Yeah, same. Like if I see her spiraling, it kind of stresses me out at the beginning and I'm like, wait, should I be stressed about this? And then I'm like, wait, I can't be because I need to calm her down. It's
Yeah.
like, and
Yeah.
but I think we just know like we'll figure it out. We have the tools. We've built an amazing support system. LinkedIn is something we haven't spoken about here yet, but like posting on LinkedIn has been the biggest blessing in the entire world. If we ever needed something or had a question about something, I would always post it on LinkedIn, and I've been sharing our journey like from a business standpoint on LinkedIn as well, which has enabled us to create a more professional you know, network of people on top of our community on other socials. And that's helped us a lot whenever we've had issues. And even just at the beginning when we were starting the company, like reaching out to people that are in the industry and being like, hey, do you have any advice on this? Or like, would you be open to chatting with us for 15 minutes or whatever? But yeah, just like making sure you have all the people you need around you to lift you up when things get really hard, and also to help you find solutions when things go wrong.
I love that. So true about LinkedIn. Someone asked me one time, what's your favorite social media platform? And I said LinkedIn, and they like laughed in my face. I was like, I love it.
I love LinkedIn
Yeah.
so much.
I know.
I scroll on LinkedIn before I scroll on Instagram in the morning.
Yeah.
Well,
because
that's telling a
people
lot.
are always like taking their hot takes for any campaign to LinkedIn.
Yes.
And you get more interesting, in-depth like responses to what's happening in your industry on LinkedIn rather than like Instagram.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just like, it's almost like professional bullying, especially.
That is so true.
Yeah,
That's exactly what it is.
especially in the marketing space, just a bunch of people shitting on each other's campaigns.
I know.
And then like a bunch of people agreeing with them in the
Yeah.
comments. And I'm like, you guys, these aren't even usernames. Like these are your names.
names,
And you're
I
just
know.
bashing brands.
Why am I
Yeah.
not seeing this like industry
No,
tea? Like
no, the
you
industry
need to send
slander.
me
The
these
industry
posts.
slander is more entertaining than any TikTok
It
drama I've
is.
ever seen in my life. I'm obsessed. So
Yeah.
I second that. I love LinkedIn.
I know. I follow a few like social media, like ex social media like leads for brands, and now they don't work for the brand, so they just share a lot of really interesting hot takes. And one of them that I love that Izzy and I have talked about on one episode is how brands should now start hiring a chief social officer to do social media. Like how important it is to have a chief social officer, like just as important as a CMO.
And
So
they're
there's some
so
good takeaways. Yeah. Go
yeah,
ahead.
and it really is. It's like its own beast,
It
and
really is.
it's such a different form of marketing compared to anything else that traditional marketing has done in the past like
Yeah.
decades.
Yeah.
And that's, funnily enough, that's something that Leia and I have been so clear on from the very beginning, is that we were going to allocate as much time to social media that we would to like literally any other aspect of the business. And you know, like we will spend like an hour or like 2 hours weekly just brainstorming content idea for the week and planning out social media strategies. And like it's so important to any business, especially in the early stage. I mean, at any stage really, but especially
Yeah.
when you're trying to get people to know who you are. And so, yeah, that's honestly, I totally agree with that take.
One final question that I have is, what's next for Good Girl Snacks? Anything exciting that you can share or drop hints that we can look out for?
We are coming out with 2 new flavors. We've been hinting at this on our social media a lot, but I think we're gonna start actually dropping what those new flavors are very shortly. So you can always stay tuned on our socials. And then we recently just very quickly touched on the fact that we are launching a new product. So in a completely different format, something completely new that should be coming out before the end of the year, hopefully. And we have a lot of retail expansion happening, so we'll be in a lot more grocery stores this year and really focusing on being more accessible to a lot more people.
So exciting. I'm so happy for you guys. This is really awesome. And then you are inspiring so many young leaders to follow in your footsteps. So it's really great that not only are you doing it because you love it, but you also have passion to help others and have other people follow along on the journey.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you
for
so
having
much.
us.
Yeah.
We loved talking to you guys and meeting you guys in real life. You guys are the best.
Thank you. It was so
Thank you so
fun.
much.